So when we're working these problems out, our equations are always going to look something like this, where you have a fraction next to an x and it's equal to some number, or where it's a fraction times some number, and it, again, those numbers depend on the word problems, is equal to x. So either the x is going to be with a fraction or it's going to be by itself. So how do we determine which one's which? Well, anytime that we see the word is, that's going to represent our equal sign in our equation. Whenever the word problem uses the word of, OF, that's going to tell us that the numbers are going to be multiplied together. So if we read our problem, it says the yearbook club had a meeting. The meeting had 24 people. So we're going to write 24, which is, so this is equal to 1/2 of the club. So 1/2 of the club, and we don't know how many people are in the club. So we put an X to represent the fact that we don't know how many people there are. Now the question itself asks us how many people are in the club. In other words, what is the value of this X? So this is my setup. The only thing left is to answer the problem. So to get X by itself, X is being multiplied by a fraction. To get rid of this fraction, to get rid of the 1/2, we need to multiply both the left side and the right side by the reciprocal. In other words, we take the fraction that's with the X and we flip it around. We turn it into 2/1 and we multiply to both the left and the right hand side of the equation. On the right hand side, the 1/2s are going to cancel out. These 1s are going to go away, these 2s are going to go away. And it'll leave us with X, which is what we want. On the left hand side, we have 2/1 times 24. Now we just need to do that math. If it helps, you can think of 24 as 24/1. And when you multiply fractions together, you multiply the top two numbers. 2 times 24 gives us 48. And if we look at the bottom numbers, 1 times 1 gives us 1. What's 48 divided by 1? 48 divided by 1 simplifies to just 48. And in this case, our answer would be 48 people, which the answer already has typed for us. So we would just type in 48 and we're done with the problem. So again, for the remaining problems, the word is always going to refer to an equal sign. And if they use the word of, that's telling us to multiply those two numbers. For this problem, it says that Yoko is on her way home in her car. Now, for this first sentence, it's just describing what's happening. They're not telling us that is the equal sign yet. That comes later on. So she has driven 36 miles so far. We have 36. Which is, so anytime we see which is, that's going to tell us that this is an equal sign. 3/4 of the way home. So this is 3/4 of, that of is telling us to multiply this by the distance on the way home, which we don't know, so we're going to put X. We have our setup now, and we need to find the total length of the drive. So now we're just solving for X. And just like the previous problem, because X is being multiplied by a fraction, we're going to find the reciprocal. We're going to flip that fraction around to become 4/3. And we're going to multiply it to both the left and the right hand side of the equation. Now, even though we are technically multiplying this 3/4 times 4/3, it turns out that the numbers themselves cross each other out, which is what we want, because we want to get this X by itself. Now on the left hand side, we need to do 4 times 36, and you can think of the 36 as 36/1. So 4 times 36, that would be 144, and 3 times 1 would be 3. So we get 144 divided by 3, and I believe we can simplify that. 3 goes into 14, 4 times, that leaves us with 24, and 3 goes into 24, 8 times. So we end up getting X equals 48 for this problem. 48 ends up being my answer. So the total length of her drive is 48 miles. This problem tells us Christina's saving money to buy a game. The game costs $20, so we have $20. And so far, she has saved 4/5 of this cost. How much money has Christine saved? Now this problem uses the word of this cost, and the cost is $20. So when it says she saved 4/5 of this cost, we're not putting an equal sign because we don't see the word is, right? There's no word is in this problem. It says she saved 4/5 of. So we're going to take 4/5, and you can either write it to the left or to the right of this number. But it's 4/5 of, so 4/5 times this cost, and this cost is $20. This is going to be how much money she saved. So it can be a little confusing, but again, the idea is anytime they use the word of, that means that those two things, whatever comes before and after the word of, those two things are going to be multiplied. So in this case, it's 4/5 of the game cost, which is $20. So that ends up being our setup. And the only thing left is to actually work it out. In this case, the x is already by itself, right? We don't need to do anything with the x. All we need to do is multiply these two values together. So we can think of 20 as 20 over 1, and we can multiply these fractions together. 4 times 20 is 80. 5 times 1 is 5. So we end up with 80 over 5. If we divide it, 5 goes into 80 6 times. So we get 16 as our final answer. So the total amount of money that she saved is $16.